weight feel like it became a problem for you?
Really for me in adult life, and I have three children, so it was even prior to my first pregnancy. I always remember being bigger than anybody else. And I have always throughout my life have felt that it wasn't the amount of food I've eaten. I just have always seemed to be bigger than everybody. My weight spiraled in the last 5 or 6 years, and it became a real issue for me where I was really embarrassed. I didn't particularly like eating in front of people. I didn't even like going on public transport. I was embarrassed by my weight, and I was getting away with it. So I was still relatively healthy. So I didn't have diabetes. I didn't have high blood pressure. I didn't have high cholesterol. I didn't have all the things that go along hand in hand with obesity. But I felt like I was getting away with it, and I just couldn't live like it anymore. And I didn't know what else to do. I've tried every diet, and I diet quite successfully. And then I put all the weight back on so quickly. It feels like in a blink. So for me, I needed something that would be long term. I needed to be able to re-educate myself, it to be long term, and I needed a tool that would just help me not only lose it but maintain long term. That's my whole goal in life, is now to maintain this much healthier me. And that's where I was, and it made me miserable. It made me really miserable, upset. In fact, it was horrible, and I didn't want to be that person anymore.
And what was it particularly that led you to feel miserable about?
It was the shame of being so fat. It's shameful because I have done it. I've done it myself. So the assumption that if you're fat, you're lazy, you're greedy, and I labeled myself with all those things. And I know I'm not. I'm not a lazy person. I can be lazy at times, but I'm not a lazy person. I can be greedy at times, but I don't gorge on food. I'm not but I was labeling myself with those labels, and it's a spiral. You need to break it somehow. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing sitting on a seat knowing that you're overlapping into the next seat. And you try and make yourself as small as you possibly can. So the person that has to sit next to you, because there's no other seat on the bus, doesn't notice you're as fat as you are. And I always thought that's going to be the last seat. Nobody's going to want to sit there because my bum's already on half your seat. Who's going to want to sit next to me? And it was upsetting, embarrassing, humiliating. It was horrible.
Yeah.
It was really horrible for me.
And so it sounds like the combination of those experiences led you to think about bariatric surgery. And
Yeah.
why bariatric surgery? What is it? Well, two things really. Why the surgery?
Yeah.
And what was the final trigger that made you think that's it?
Enough. Yeah. So I pretty much had tried everything. I've done very low calorie diets. I've done lots of exercise. I've done calorie controlled eating. I've done, the normal Weight Watchers, Slimming World. And I just hadn't found the thing that would maintain my weight loss. And I'm an all-in girl. Once I'm in it, I'm an all-in girl. But I couldn't find that thing that would help me keep it off long term. And I felt too big to exercise. I was too embarrassed to swim. I just couldn't find that thing. And then I tried weight loss injections. I pretty much tried everything in a hope that I would find something. And then I stumbled across the bariatric surgery book that I read, which literally, that was the start for me. It kind of changed my life and changed my mind. And it wasn't an easy decision because my husband really struggled with the idea. My husband loved me. My weight was not a problem for my husband. It wasn't a problem when I'd lost weight. It wasn't a problem. He just loved me. He never comments on my weight. I don't get any praise for losing weight because he truly doesn't care. And I'm so lucky to have him in my life because he doesn't care. And that sounds really odd because at times you want a bit of praise for losing weight. I don't get it because it makes no difference to him. So he couldn't really understand why I would go down this route. But I did an awful lot of research. and I read an awful lot. I joined a number of online forums and online Facebook groups to find out what people's lived experience of bariatric surgery was. And yes, there's always a few negative ones, but the comments on there about starting their life again and how much this has changed people's lives. And I knew right from the start it wasn't a quick fix. So when people say, oh, you've taken the easy way out, I think, well, try walking in my shoes for a few weeks, you'll know. This isn't an easy answer. This isn't a quick fix. This is a lifelong commitment to me that I've made it. I'm going to make a change. This is day one. I'm never going back to that person. And this is my tool to help me do that. And that's what made me go for it.
Yeah. It sounds like you did a lot of research leading up to that decision making, and you'd heard people's experiences of the surgery.
Yes.
For you, what were you most apprehensive about, or what were you most worried about in relation to the surgery?
Surgery itself. I've never had surgery. So I've never had an anaesthetic, and I was morbidly obese. So the prospect of being given an anaesthetic and dying was an absolute real fear for me. I have children, a husband, and grandchildren, and a mother that I adore, and I wasn't ready to leave them. But I wasn't also ready to die at 60 from an obesity-related disease. So for me, the one outweighed the other. But the real fear for me was surgery. After surgery, I knew I could cope. I knew I would be all right. It was just physically getting through the surgery and surviving it. That was my biggest fear. And I expressed those fears not only to Mr. Hughes, but to the anaesthetist, and they were so reassuring. And I think we as patients forget this is what they do every single day. This is their bread and butter. They are, and every day I go to work without thinking of the risks. There are risks in every job, in every walk of life. We take risks every day, but this is a very measured, it's a small risk, but it's a measured risk. And it wasn't a risk that was worth worrying about for me, but it was my major number one concern.
Yeah.
But I came round, and I think one of the first things I said to the lady at the nurse was, I didn't die. And she went, no, good.
But a lot of people have that worry. A lot of people.
Yeah. And it was terrifying. It was terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about what you did leading up to surgery. So when you'd made the decision and you'd met Hughes and the team.
Yeah.
Were there any changes that you made leading up to the surgery?
Yes. So leading up to the surgery, I personally, I'm not ashamed or embarrassed about what I've done. But I'm really proud of the fact that I've helped myself. So I spoke to people. I spoke to a lot of people. My friends knew I was having it done. My work colleagues knew I was having it done. So I prepared the way for what was to come. So I didn't want people buying me cakes or chocolates, or I wanted to make my life as easy as I could post-surgery. So I prepared the way with everybody that I could. My surrounding people all knew what was going on. Even when I was doing the very low calorie diet 2 weeks prior to my surgery, that was easy. We still had friends to dinner because they all knew what I was doing, and there was no excuses made. I just ate what I was eating. I was still happy to cook for everybody else. So that was all very easy. The only other thing I did prior to surgery was write just in case letters. So I did that for my family as well. And that was really important to me. So I could tell my family how I felt about them. And I did write just in case letters, which is still in the filing cabinet upstairs. Nobody's opened them, but they're there. But that was also quite a cathartic experience, actually writing down why you're doing something, what your hopes for them are, how you feel about them, was actually, I think I cried my eyes doing it, but it was a cathartic experience even doing that.
Sounds like a really powerful experience.
Yeah. It was
and I wonder if were there any other changes, whether it's sort of experimenting with how you ate or timing or anything like that?
Yeah. So the one thing that I really took on board was the not eating 20 minutes before, not eating with my meal, and not drinking. I beg your pardon, not drinking 20 minutes, not drinking with a meal, and not. and also putting cutlery down when you're eating more mindfully, the 20 chews. And I suddenly realized that I pretty much would do 2 chews and swallow. I was an inhaler. I ate very, very fast. And even now, and I am exactly, I think on the 23rd, I'll be 6 months post-op. The thing I find the hardest is eating slowly, eating mindfully. That's the hardest thing. But the drinking prior, with and after is absolutely fine. I don't have any issue with that. It's slowing down because my default is quick, eat it while it's hot, get it in. So to eat it slowly is almost torturous, and to put your cutlery down. And I only eat off a tea plate or a small bowl, so I've reduced my portion size. And I did that prior to surgery as well. I reduced my cutlery size to children's cutlery prior to surgery. But the eating slowly is tough. It's really tough.
Yeah. So it sounds like that's sort of starting before surgery. You were able to begin to interrupt some of the habits that have been perhaps lifelong.
Yeah, definitely lifelong. And we as children, we all had to hurry up. Come on, hurry up. Finish your plate, hurry up. And that I remember that. I remember that feeling and that quick, eat it quick. And but it also then changes your approach to your children or your grandchildren. I never make my grandchildren clear their plate. I never make them eat quickly. If they've said they've had enough, then that's fine. They've had enough.
Right.
And so that's trying to change my approach to food as well, which has been really interesting. The whole experience has been, I've learned so much about myself and my relationship with food. And some of it's quite shocking, really.
Yeah. I think for lots of people, there's something of the surgery that brings those old habits, those patterns into focus in a way that normally we're on autopilot and we don't know.
Absolutely. And we push them down and we push them away, because actually facing them sometimes is really hard. So, it hasn't been easy, but it has been amazing.
So it sounds like it's been the sort of leading up to in the early stages after surgery, and perhaps now still is a combination of both practical and emotional work that you've been doing.
Definitely. Yes, definitely. And every day is a conscious decision to plan ahead, to know what I'm going to be eating, to make sure I have the right food that not only will satisfy, but will meet my nutritional needs. So it's no good just not being bothered to go shopping. I need to go shopping. I had a number of options with the Live Your Shrinking diet, and I decided to do the low calorie diet. So no carb, no fat. And I found that relatively easy. I didn't find it very much a problem at all. Again, I'd done lots of research. I knew what would fill me up. And I stuck to quite high protein, fish, chicken, and vegetables or salad with no dressing. And that was fine for me as well. And weirdly, I quite enjoyed it, because all of a sudden I had a sense of control. I was doing something, and it was a step closer to what I wanted. And so I didn't have a last meal. I didn't bite into any of that.
You mean the kind of last supper sort of thing?
Yes, didn't do that. No, didn't do that. Wasn't interested in that, because I felt that, eating what I would do would be a dip in my blood sugar anyway. I didn't want it to be a massive dive. So I tried to be as sensible as I could, and I found it absolutely fine. I made soups, and I can't remember. I did have yogurt for breakfast and fruit, and it worked perfectly fine. And I didn't find it difficult at all that first stage. And I did. For me, it was a step in the right direction, which was it was a start, and I was excited.
Brilliant. What about immediately after the operation? What was that like for you?
So the first night was horrendous, and mainly because the hospital's beautiful, the staff were amazing, but I'd never experienced after surgery before. I didn't know what to expect. So you have a blood pressure monitor, you have drips, you have legs in air bag things to stop you getting blood clots. So one leg would go up, then the arm would go up, then the other leg would go up. And I just felt like I was doing this all night. You are uncomfortable. I had no gas pain. I was very lucky because I'd done so much research, I was worst case scenario. I was expecting it all. I had no gas pain. The biggest thing for me was wanting to go to the loo and feeling I was troubling the staff to help me get out of bed to go to the loo, but they are so kind and they were amazing. And by the next morning, I was up and pootling along with my drip, happy to walk up and down. And the first night was bad after that. And it wasn't even that bad because I must have got some sleep. But it was I didn't quite appreciate that I'd have so many bits attached to me. There was no catheter or anything like that. It was just the leg things, the drip, and the blood pressure cuff. But yeah, immediately post-op, there was no pain. I was uncomfortable. My incisions, I had more and more incision than I expected. And that's because my organs apparently are quite close together. So we had to get in slightly differently. My incisions are tiny. They were covered in what looked like shiny plastery stuff that just dissolved and went. My stitches just dissolved and went. I had no issues with any of my incisions. I had no weeping, no bleeding. I had a bit of bruising, but that was like my war wounds. That was my trophy. And I, again, embraced it and enjoyed them. And for me, post-op was okay. The worst thing post-op was the disgusting liquid and puree stage. That's hard.
I was going to ask about what that was like, that texture.
That's really hard. Interestingly, liquid stage isn't hard because you're not really that hungry to start off with. And that was fine. I was really happy with the clear soups. That was fine. Normal soups, absolutely fine. Puree stage, not for me. And that's because I don't like the texture of pureed food. I struggled so badly with pureed food. But again, kept trying to remember that this is just a means to an end. It's a short-term thing. But I would, if I'm really honest, dread each meal because I knew what was coming. Oh, it's not for me. Yeah. And so as soon as I was able to go onto soft food, I did. And yeah, no, I've had no issues. The dietitian that I spoke to was so supportive and helpful. Anybody, if I had any questions, I could go through the office at Verve and they were really supportive and helpful as well. So yeah, once I'd done puree,
then things got a bit better, it sounds like.
Oh yes. And I tried pureeing just about everything you can think of to get the flavour, but no, it was the texture for me. Revolting.
Some people just can't get on with that texture. No. It sounds like you persevered to be able to get
definitely, because I wanted to give myself the best opportunity I could. And if it said 2 weeks, I was doing 2 weeks. And I did 2 weeks.
Brilliant. And you've already talked about sort of some of the habit changes that you've made in terms of the pace of eating and small plate and those sorts of things. What other sort of either diet or lifestyle changes have you made since surgery? So
my diet is completely different. My mindset is I don't obsess about food all day, which I did before. To start off with, I would have to set an alarm on my phone to remind myself to eat because I don't have those. I still occasionally feel hungry, but I don't have those regular thoughts to eat something, let alone the hunger pangs. I now realize for me it was more of a head hunger than a stomach hunger. So I eat 3 meals a day. I have a breakfast, lunch and dinner every day, and I have a protein snack of some sort either mid-morning or mid-afternoon most days if I fancy it. I don't force myself to eat it because I know I'm eating enough nutrients in the 3 meals I have. I have tried to eat a really balanced diet. I cook everything from scratch. I'm not a ready meal kind of a girl. So I cook every day. I cook for my family every day. I pretty much eat what they do and just adapt it slightly for me. My snacks are protein rich usually. I know people that I've spoken to like protein shakes and protein yogurts. They're not for me. I would rather have some real food. I don't choose to go down the protein shake route. I do eat cheese and I will have that as a snack, but I eat it in moderation because I am quite careful about still because I know myself, I know my tendencies. So I am quite careful about what I choose as a snack. But I appear to have an absolute intolerance for sugar. And I have worked out that anything that has any more than 4 grams per 100 grams of sugar doesn't agree with me. And it's a really fast reaction, a really, really fast reaction. I get quite severe palpitations. I need to go to the bathroom, and then I need to sleep for half an hour. And that's sugar. So I just don't eat it. And I check labels, and it's absolutely fine. It's no hardship. It's just one of those things, and that's fine with me.
And when you say going to the bathroom, are you talking about having loose stools or diarrhea?
Punami, I would call it.
Okay.
And it's quick. Yeah, it's run up the stairs quick. Yes, unfortunately. But it's happened, I think, in the 6 months, 3 times with hidden sugar.
Okay.
Where I've been out and I haven't been able to control what I've eaten. Well, I have in the portion size. It was in a dressing. Of all things, it was in a cheese scone, and I found out afterwards they make a sweet batch. I thought I was okay with a bit of a cheese scone. Turns out I wasn't. So I am really, really careful about what I eat. And people talk about dumping, so I assume this is dumping syndrome. And I've had it, 3 times, and it's not something I choose to do again. So I am particularly careful. Again, it happens. And it's over quickly, and there are no after effects. Once it's out of my body and I've slept, because I always need to sleep weirdly, I get up then back to normal, absolutely fine afterwards. Okay. And it has happened only 3 times.
And so I was going to ask you about some of the challenges post-operatively. That sounds like that's quite challenging, although the frequency is it's not too
if
much.
I'm honest, that is my only challenge. I have no other challenges post-operatively. The things that some people might see as a challenge, I absolutely embrace. So the things that some people might see as a negative, I am a woman of an older age. I'm 56. I have no bones about that. I don't worry about how my body looks. I obviously care about how my body looks, but I do have some loose skin on my arms. I don't care. I love it because it shows that my body is doing what I'm asking it to do. And it's part of my journey. So some people might see the loose skin as a side effect. I'm embracing it. I'm tucking it into my pants, and I don't care. It's just one of those things that is a side effect of what I've had done. And it is another one of it's a trophy, and I love it. And it's fine. It's all good. For me, there are no downsides. When I think about the whole experience, there is nothing that I could say, oh, yeah, but no, there's nothing.
Okay. And how have you, so we talked about some of the foods that you're choosing to have. So you're cooking your own meals from scratch, and you're having less of the sort of protein shakes and yogurts and those sorts of things. How do you feel that you're managing your nutrition and your nutritional needs after surgery?
So I eat, the majority of my plate is protein, and it's good protein. I buy good quality meat or fish, or we do eat some beans and pulses. But if I'm really honest, we do eat meat or fish most days because I do like to have my guaranteed protein. We eat vegetables every day. I do eat carbohydrate as well. I can eat potatoes, rice and pasta. I can't eat fresh pasta, but I can eat potatoes, rice and pasta. And I eat that in moderation, and I don't eat that every day. I take my multivitamins religiously. I have a Dosset box, so I know exactly what I've got to take and when. I have my B12 injections, and then my blood is monitored 3 times this year. It's been done once already. So I know that my nutrients are good, and I'm doing everything I can to maintain healthy nutrient levels. And I eat a very, very diet. So lots of colour in my diet, and not very much carbohydrate, but I do eat carbohydrate. But it is mainly protein and vegetables. And
so it sounds like a good balance.
Yeah, it does work. It definitely works. And it works for the rest of the family. So they don't even know they're eating better, but they're all eating better. So that's great.
And in terms of thinking about your health now, how has your health changed, or has it changed since your
I don't have high blood pressure anymore. I had slightly raised blood pressure, and my blood pressure is spot on. There is nothing wrong with my blood pressure. It is amazing. It wasn't excessive. I was getting away with it, but now my blood pressure is spot on. I have so much more energy, and I've got an inclination to do things. Whereas before, I'd park close to the supermarket. I wouldn't dream of exercising. Mr. Hughes said to me, what exercise do you do? And I'm like, that, nothing. Nope. And I love the fact that he just said, well, find something and do it. One thing, don't mind what it is, you need to exercise. And in my mind was, what on earth am I going to do? Turns out I love swimming. I swim most days. We do aquafit on the days I don't swim. I bought a bicycle. We go out for bike rides. I am gardening. I can garden. I can bend down and pick up stuff off the floor because my tummy isn't in the way. My life has changed completely. I have so much more energy. I can get out of the bath. I don't have a dam behind me now when my bottom filled the bath. The water goes out when I pull the plug out. There's lots of things like that and my mental health is better. I'm not embarrassed. I feel the person that was inside me, I now look like that person. I now look like the person I felt inside, rather than having all this padding around me. And my life has completely changed. I look at people's faces. I don't mind catching people's eyes now when I go out. Whereas before, I would much rather look down and not catch anybody. And I'm quite a confident person, but I didn't want to be judged or, so I wouldn't do it. And now I will happily walk with my head held high and smile at anybody, because I'm me, and I'm loving life.
Brilliant. And I wonder if there are people that listening to this that are either wanting to learn more about surgery or are considering surgery themselves. What advice would you give to them?
Do your homework. Just do your homework. There are so many options, and there are so many people that you can speak to that have real valuable insights to how it really is. It's not an easy answer. It's not just, this is your golden token, you're going to wake up slim. You work at it every single day, but you're working for your own benefit. This is for you. This is the one thing you can actually do for yourself and for nobody else. And it was hard. It was not an easy journey, but it has been the best thing I've ever done for myself. And I'm so proud of myself for doing it. And it brings me so much joy. It really does. It really does.
That's great to hear. Well, great to hear. And so just shifting now into thinking a little bit about Verve Health Group as a surgical provider. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience of Verve through any point?
Yeah. So prior to talking to anybody at Verve, I had done a little bit of research. So I'd spoken to another surgeon and provider. I looked at going abroad. And then I happened upon Verve because you're a local provider to me, which was the only reason that I spoke to. My first experience was calling the office. And from that moment, I thought, this is a bit different. I was treated differently. I was spoken to differently. I was offered right from the very start a different layer of respect, kindness, and sincerity that I hadn't experienced with other administrators, let alone other surgeons. And then when I had my first consultation with Mr. Hughes, and I had explained, like I explained to you earlier, how I got to this place. And he said something to me that still makes me emotional now. And he said to me, I believe you. And for me, that was the most amazing thing for somebody to say, I believe you. I just believe you. And it was like, oh my God, I can't even think about going with anybody else. You are the place for me. And then the follow-up, the amount of information that you provide to your clients, the amount of care that you take to go through, you gave me time. You gave me time to talk to people. I had a psychological assessment and a dietitian's assessment. I could have had more than one if I was given time. I was given time to consider what I wanted, to make sure it was the right thing for me, to ask any questions. There was not a stupid question. I wasn't made to feel stupid at any stage, but I wasn't pushed into this. There was no sign on the line, pay me your deposit. I didn't even pay any money. I didn't pay any money until about a week before I had surgery. And I think I paid for the assessments, I beg your pardon, but not the actual surgery. It was a completely different experience for me. And post-operatively, the care you get post-operatively as well is amazing. I know the office is there. If I've got any questions, I can call. The support that you're given afterwards is invaluable. You're not just left to get on with it. People check in on you, make sure you're all right. And that's great. Really great. I really appreciate it.
Really, that's fantastic to hear. And I wonder, before we finish, if there are any sort of final comments and other thoughts sort of popping into your head that you'd like to share with people.
I did it for all the right reasons, but I love it for all the wrong reasons.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
I buy clothes every week. I've never liked clothes. I was a girl that wore black, because you want to merge in the background. You don't want anybody. I have a wardrobe full of multicolored stuff, and it brings me joy because I can now go into a shop and buy clothes off the peg. I can buy like a normal human being size clothes. That's me now. And I just want to say thank you. Honestly, I don't know if you appreciate as a team what a difference. It's not just how I look. You haven't just changed how I look. You have changed my life for the better. And I can't tell you how grateful it is. I just cannot express how grateful I am. It changed everything. It changed everything. It changed my perception of me. And I'm happier. I'm more confident. I love life. I absolutely love life. And that's because of the change that you helped me make. I tried so hard to do this by myself and I couldn't do it. I just needed this little bit of help to get me to this stage. And, one afternoon of surgery for Mr. Hughes has changed my life. And I will be forever grateful. It is amazing.